Hello everyone, Jared here, and in today's video, we're leaving Zigong via taxi to Neijiang, and then we're going to be taking an hour-and-a-half train ride from there east to Chongqing. This day is going to involve a lot of traveling, but luckily for you, I'm going to be cutting out most of that. And in case you've been wondering where we've been so far on the trip, here you go. And so we took the taxi to Neijiang, and once we got there, we had to stop at a toll gate. And at this toll gate, I saw something that I'd never seen before, which was a man got out of his truck and pulled this fish out of his truck. I had no idea why this was happening, and I learned from asking the taxi driver that apparently many farmers and locals who don't really have much money are able to get through the toll gates for free by demonstrating their produce. And that is exactly what was happening here in this video. So I got to learn something that I probably never would have learned about otherwise if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. And then we followed him into the city and went off in the direction of the train station because we had some tickets we still needed to buy for our train ride.
I can hear nothing. We're waiting in line, trying to hopefully get our train tickets soon.
And luckily, we did get our train tickets for the 117 train ride going to Chongqing from Chengdu's East Station. So we headed out to the platform where the train would ultimately stop for just a few minutes, and then went in, enjoyed some of the scenery, and pulled in to Chongqing's North Station. Before taking a taxi ride after waiting in a very long line for the taxis to eventually take us to our hotel, where once we got into our room, we were greeted with this view. But we didn't stay for long, and knowing we only had a little bit of time in Chongqing, we went down to the subway, got our tickets, and headed across the river and over to our main tourist attraction for the day, which is known as Hongyadong. We then left the subway and walked our way over. So what is Hongyadong, you might ask? It's a tiered tourist attraction, buildings stacked on top of one another that used to be where working class people lived back in the day. But after being renovated in the 90s, including more recently, it's become a dazzling attraction to see neon lights at night, and who knows what else. This was my first time going, and I didn't really do much research before coming here. So I guess we'll just have to see what there is there together. And even if what's inside doesn't turn out to be great, the view certainly is. One of the great things that I first noticed where we started out at the top of Hongyadong was this sculpture.
I've just found the Chinese equivalent of the burrow from Harry Potter.
Okay, it's not really the burrow, but it does remind me quite a lot of it. It's actually an artist's depiction of what this tourist attraction looks like. We started up at the top of this tourist attraction and worked our way downward along the many touristy streets with tons of vendors on either side, and boy, was it crowded. Stopping for a moment to look at something on the sides is a little difficult with all the people here going by you each way. And as you can see here, it goes down quite a bit, so it'll take you a while to go through it all. There are hundreds of different shops along the sides that sell all different kinds of things, whether it's food that's local, maybe some sweets from a chain store. Also, there are a whole bunch of free samples that people are handing out all over the place, which we were able to partake in as well. Some of the samples that they were giving out, we weren't quite frankly that interested in, but if you probably just want to have a meal, you'll be able to do that based off of all the snacks they give out alone.
There's a lot of free stuff around here. It is tofu. It's a little spicy, but it's good.
Well, good is a matter of perspective. My father and I didn't necessarily appreciate the same things, as we both like different levels of spice in our foods. Anyways, we moved on from this section of Hongyadong and went inside to see what else there was here.
We've just arrived at Folk Food Street. We walked down 4 flights of stairs, and let's check it out.
The Folk Food Street was actually maybe the scariest area here, because the traditional snacks did not really look very appetizing. So we went back outside and looked at all the other shops and mini restaurants that lined the alleys of Hongyadong. And boy was it noisy with these clappers that they try to use to attract you. If anything, they make us want to go away from them even faster. However, one thing that was really interesting was seeing this guy here, because we wouldn't have expected in the middle of a major Chinese tourist attraction to see someone who's Indian making some fei bing, or what they call flying pancake, but I don't know the actual translation.
So far, my impression of this place is that it's just a very touristy food area where if you want to try all different kinds of old Chinese foods, then that's always available to you. But I'm not seeing much else aside from foods. I'm hoping there's going to be a little bit more, but then again, I had no idea what I was getting into when I came here.
And as we continued down this path, it got quite a bit more crowded. And once we got to the end, we were able to see why that was. Because one of the main draws to the area is this place, the Hongyadong Cave, where you're able to see stalagmites, stalactites, and just go through this small walkable cave section.
We're inside the cave. Time to look down to watch my step. It's not the most exciting thing in the world. It's nice being able to take a break from having the sun shine down on your head for a moment.
So that was pretty much it for the Hongyadong Cave section. It's very short and you're able to walk through it in under 5 minutes. But what we ultimately did was follow the path down on the other side to the bottom of Hongyadong and walked out of the tourist attraction. And boy, did it look like quite the sight once we were at the bottom as we looked back up at the hill, where all the buildings were stacked on top of one another, even though they did have some Western chains that were on display at the top. However, once we left, we didn't realize that we had to get back in line to go back in. So we were a little worried what would happen when we tried to go back in, but we quickly learned this wouldn't be a problem.
They have a couple places you can enter from. You can either enter from the top of this place or you can enter from the bottom. And they don't exactly make it easy for people who are tourists from other countries to be able to go through here. They don't give you instructions on what you can do. So I'll let you know what to do. Make sure that you bring your passport. That's what you want to bring.
Also, because we were foreigners and had our passports, they just had us skip ahead of everyone else in line, and we got in to see all these shops rather quickly. But I honestly think some of these shops really shouldn't exist.
This is a travesty. You take one of the best things on the planet and combine it with one of the worst things on the planet. If you look at all of these stores on the left and right, if you're familiar with going through these tourist destinations, one thing you'll find is that it's repeat after repeat after repeat. People sell the same things in most places, and it does get a little boring over time. So if you are a first-time tourist in China, it would probably still be very engaging for you to come here. But if you are someone who is not a first-time traveler to China, and you've been to places that have these kinds of things, well then it might be better just to go ahead and go somewhere else.
And then we went in the fine antique city.
Well, there's absolutely no one here for some reason. I guess all of these stores have closed. Hopefully just for the day and not permanently.
However, even though we felt a little bit bored by what we were seeing at the moment, we continued on until we did find something that was engaging, which was this man sitting right here that was engaged in finger painting. This wasn't the first time that I'd seen someone do this, but it was the first time during my travels around China this year that I'd seen someone doing it. Heck, I'd even bought a couple of these paintings in the past that are on display in my room at home. And if you're considering maybe you might like one of these, well, just make sure you're able to get it at a good bargain price.
This is one thing that I appreciate watching, no matter how many times I've seen it in other places, because it is not something that is fake. It is something people are able to do with their own hands and make unique every single time. Okay, done with our little adventure around here. Let's head back out into the main area.
And so we left the interior one final time before we walked around some more and came across something that I didn't expect to find in this city. There was more ear cleaning.
It returns. I thought it was only in Chengdu at Jinli Street, but apparently it's here too.
Having walked around quite a bit and worked up an appetite, we looked for a restaurant and ended up getting this dish to share, Kung Pao chicken, which I felt because I hadn't been to Chongqing before, I needed to try, because I've had it all around China and I wasn't going to miss out on it here. Alright, this is our first time in Chongqing, and one thing I decided to try to get here is Kung Pao chicken, because this is the land of spice. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. Here we go. Sweet, not very spicy. Now maybe what I need to do then is have some chilies with it that are in here. But it at least has a good flavor, and that's really what matters. And so we quickly finished that meal and waited until the sun went down before we were able to go back out and take videos across the river of the bridge and the rest of the city while it began to glow at night. Of all the places that you should go to see in Chongqing for the view of the lights at night, this is definitely the right spot because you're able to get a shot of pretty much anything you would want. Whether it's looking out across the river, or if it's going back inside Hongyadong and looking at all the neon and every other business that's lit up. And as you can see, it was getting a lot more crowded later on. Anyways, it wasn't too long before we decided we'd had enough walking around for the day and walked back toward the subway past this temple that was under reconstruction and came across a large group of old people dancing again. So, that's going to be it for our first night here in Chongqing, and we have a number of places that we're going to be going to next time. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and that you come back looking forward to part 2 of Chongqing. See you then! Thank you again for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Also, please share this channel with others so we can make the channel grow together as I continue to put out more videos.